No, he's right there. He just walked in the door. No, he just walked in.
Oh, yeah.
See it? Sounds completely different with the mask. I don't know what to do.
Oh, okay.
Should I put it outside the mask? The mic just sounds kind of with the mask.
Do we have any flowers?
At one point.
It's not going to stay on if I do that.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to Temple Sherry Emeth. I'm Cantor Wally Shackett Briskin.
I'm Cantor Lisa Levine, and this is the Koleinu Band.
And also with us this week is our visiting rabbi, Dr. Andy Dubin, as well as our Koleinu Band. And please take a moment to silence your cell phone, locate your nearest exit, keep an eye out for anything of concern. And if you need to take a break from keeping your mask over your nose and mouth, we invite you to step outside our sacred space to do so. Thank you. And with the stress and sadness of this past week, we pause to breathe as we allow Shabbat to fill us with light, with refreshment, and maybe joy. If not joy, at least release. We'll be using the Mishkan Tefillah prayer books, which you can find under the seats, and the words will also be on the screen. And to give us some news of the congregation and some upcoming events, it's my pleasure to invite a board member, Michael Holzer, to share with us some upcoming things to be aware of.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's been a long couple of weeks for our congregation, and we've experienced loss on more than one occasion. Our hearts go out to everyone, and our prayers are with you all. Please remember that Cantor Wally is available to speak to anyone should you need an outlet, and we have many professionals in our community that are available and ready to speak should you need somebody to talk to. Please reach out to us if we can help in any way. On a happier note, I hope you'll all be joining us this Wednesday, March 16th, to celebrate Purim. The Billy Jonas Band will be joining us first at 3 p.m. for a Purim concert for our tots and friends with special needs, and then again at 6:30 for the remainder of the community. Don't forget to dress up for the costume parade, and for those of you that would like to watch at home, the 6:30 service will be streamed. I'm also positive we can use some laughs, so you might want to join us for the TSE Comedy Night. It's on April 30th. And Johnny Lampert, Ophira Eisenberg, and Michael Harrison will be joining us for a night of fun and laughter. Tickets are sold online in advance. Get them before we sell out. On Thursday, March 17th, Mahjong returns for the Sisterhood. And 1 hour before, they'll be stretching our legs with some Israeli dancing. So I heard it was a lot of fun and a great workout for those of you that may have been there the last time. On Wednesday, March 23rd, you may want to join us for Children of God, an interfaith conversation where the topic will be sin and confession in our traditions. I'm honored that we participate in this program. We strengthen our community by discussing, understanding, and accepting our differences. For more information about the program, you can look on the Temple website. There's a link to register. It's on Zoom. And thank you to the Koleinu Band for joining us tonight, and Cantor Levine, and everybody enjoy the service. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. To help us to provide, I would like to invite the families of tomorrow's Benot Mitzvah, the Schussler and the Kipnis families, to lead us in the lighting of the Shabbat candles and Kiddush.
Can you get right into the microphone? You can even hold it. That would be great. Thank you. Yeah.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, be our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Can you light the candles? Oh, sure. Thank you. Yeah, one of you light one and the other. You can take the whole thing. Yeah, there you go. Guys, hold on a second. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctifies us with mitzvah. In love and favor, you made the holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies the Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Berei peri hagafen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon inchilanu, zikaron le'maseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila le'mikra'e kodesh, zecher litzion Mitzrayim, kivanu b'charta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat.
Amen.
Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. And mazel tov to all of you. Thank you so much. Looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, you can all be seated. Thanks so much. Shabbat shalom. Just watch your heels on that. Right. We continue with Psalm 130, with the Psalm for Shabbat, Hine Matov Umanayim. How good and how pleasant it is for us to be together on this Shabbat in peace.
Amen.
So with all of the despair that's been coming out of Ukraine, perhaps you saw the beautiful scene last week of two soldiers coming together for a battlefield wedding. And with all the challenges surrounding them, these two lovers chose not to let the opportunity pass them by, to join together as one, in order to face the future with increased strength and love and devotion. And so now we too reach for that same opportunity as we welcome the Shekhinah, the cosmic Sabbath bride, to join forces with us in sacred union as we turn to page 138, Lecha Dodi.
We remain standing for the call to praise the Baruch Hu.
Page 146.
Baruch Hu, et Adonai, Amen. Ora.
So the rabbis of tradition ask, why did God choose to appear in a bush? And to which the reply is, in order to teach us that there is no place without God's presence, not even a lowly bush. And yes, even in Egypt, the land of slavery from which we had no choice but to escape in order to survive, God was there. Even Egypt contained that presence. And if our ancestors could find God's support in Egypt of antiquity, why not today in Ukraine? We presume God's saving grace. We pray that it is available to them, and we pray the Ukrainian people will discover their own pathway to freedom in the very near future. And we turn to page 158 from Mi Chamocha.
Join us.
Elohim
Our rabbis teach that every conflict in the world starts with words and can be resolved with words. Not only the Ukrainian people, God, but the Russian people too are suffering, especially those who are trying to use their words to protest the unholy actions of their government, risking unheard of suffering in state-run prison in return. Yet they persist because in words there is power. Please, God, allow them to keep their lips open so they may form the words of peace and reconciliation. Help them, God, to maintain the courage to speak with their government and military officials in ways that will succeed in bringing their country into alignment with that which is just and fair. And help us, God, to speak the words that will support these holy dissidents in their quest for justice in their name. And we turn now to page 164 as we prepare for the Amidah, the standing prayer.
Please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agitei latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, V'zocher chasdei avot v'imaot, U'mevi gula livnei v'neihem, Lema'an shemo be'ahava, Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, mechayei hakol atah rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, u'matir asurim, u'mekayem emunato l'shenei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al gevurot, u'mido melach, melech memit u'mechayeh, u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah le'achayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom, yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated.
Shalom Raha Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Shalom Raha Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Shalom Raha Yisrael
invite you now to take a moment to yourselves for some silent reflection, silent prayer. Please feel free either to share the words that are in your heart or to read the words that are in the book.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו לעמו ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו לעמו ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו לעמו ישראל. 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 יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו
And we turn our hearts and our minds now to those who are in need of healing. We turn for those who are in need of healing either in this congregation, Shari Emeth, or in my own congregation of the Jewish Center of Northwest Jersey. And we are thinking especially this evening of Daniel and Mindy Minerva, Stephen Rice, Jordan Silverman, Richard Cohen, Brian Roche, Colleen Seat, Norma Menaker, Jan Gale, Ron Klug, Karen Schiffman-Goldstein, Arlene Schwartz, Harriet Dumrow, Kate Ratner, Adam Apteker, Rachel Wall, Roberta Rayburn, Ashley Blick, Gratian Chukovsky, Barbara Levino, Michelle Safran, Rich Bowden, Spencer Gray Rothstein, Benita Apple, Brody Scher, Carol Levine, Farah Schwartz, Samuel Finkelstein, Jenna Schneller, Bonnie Eskowitz, Bert Stillman, Richard Craig, Abe and Ray Drucker, Linda Esposito, Myra Baskin, George White, Cheryl Herskowitz, David Shore, Auntie Annie, Jared Norotsky, Ruth Ellen Resch, June Martin, Jeffrey Cohen, Joel Samet, Harriet Marcus, Joyce Welkis, Michael Dollinger, Rick Ratch, Hallel Miriam Bat-Rivka, Nechama Tziona Singer, Alexander and Eugenia Litovaskaya, Rick Schwartz, Jacob Rosenberg, Jim Woods, and from the Jewish Center of Northwest Jersey, Penka Beck, Jerry Berkowitz, Dorothy Fakina, Ken Fakina, Ronnie Goodman, Rochelle Gray, April Herson McCormack, Iris Hirsch, Leonard Hirsch, Barbara Hoffer, Ann Hoffman, Rena Klein, Sidney Crane, Gertrude Lewis, Antonia Ramos, Dolores Rems, Emily Reynard, Bernie Robbins, Nancy Robbins, Andy Rutan, Carter White, Roberta Willard, Karen Wolf, Debbie Wynn, Joan Ziegar. And of course, we always keep in mind those who are afflicted with COVID-19 and all of those who have been affected in the Ukraine. And if there are other names that we should be adding this evening, as I come around to you, please share with us.
Diane Klein.
So in the great American classic, Call of the Wild, Jack London tells the story of Buck, a half sheepdog, half St. Bernard, who over the course of 7 chapters gets stolen from his California home, and then he is sold and resold, and finally he becomes a thankless sled dog in the Yukon, underfed and overworked. Life for Buck goes from being calm, supportive, and loving to frenetic, demanding, and threatening. Having once depended on the kindness of others, Buck comes to realize that the only one on whom he can truly rely is himself. And so he becomes a new dog, one that even he would not have recognized prior to the journey. And by the end, Buck has become a killer, a thing that preyed, living on the things that lived, unaided, alone by virtue of his own strength and prowess, surviving triumphantly in a hostile environment where only the strong survive. To London, Buck's story celebrates dominance, succeeding because he lets nothing stand in his way, not even the dogs on his own team, when killing them might be required. And of course, it makes sense. As Charles Darwin wrote in his 1859 masterpiece, The Origin of the Species, there is one general law leading to the advancement of all organic beings: let the strongest live and the weakest die. Had Buck been willing to let other dogs control him, that is, had he let altruism rather than pure self-preservation guide his choices, certainly we would have praised and admired his character, but we also imagine he would not have lasted very long, because the strongest live and the weakest die, of course. Except for one thing. Scientists suggest that the first Homo sapiens appeared about 200,000 years ago, and that we've been evolving ever since along the lines of survival of the fittest. Perhaps, but if this were entirely true, how is it then that altruism has survived the test of time? If self-interest were really the only dominant human drive, why is it that self-sacrifice not only persists, but is actually encouraged and honored? Why is it that communities across Europe, indeed across the entire world, are now opening their borders and their government treasuries to house and feed and care for the millions of refugees from war-torn Ukraine? Why is it that so many of you, I imagine, have opened up your own pocketbooks as well? We are now, please God, finally beginning to emerge from 2 years of pandemic living. And we look back and we ask, why is it that before either vaccinations or effective treatment had yet been introduced, perfectly healthy individuals were already leaving the safety of their walled-off homes to go round for round against the monster virus? Why did retired medical professionals volunteer to retrieve their once discarded scrubs and serve in the most overrun hospitals where infection rates were the highest? Why did hospital workers voluntarily put themselves in peril by assuming extra shifts to cart away constantly accumulating piles of COVID-infected patient waste? If human beings were really hardwired to put their own selfish needs above everything else, why is it so easy to think of so many examples that prove otherwise? Not surprisingly, Charles Darwin was daunted by the same question, which pushed him eventually to revisit his thinking. 12 years after the origin of the species, Darwin reassessed in The Descent of Man. He wrote, "As man advances in civilization and small tribes are united into larger communities, the simplest reason would tell each individual that he ought to extend his social instincts and sympathies to all members of the same nation, though personally unknown to him. This point being once reached, there is only an artificial barrier to prevent his sympathies extending to men of all nations and races." So on an individualistic level, the most aggressive amongst us, like Buck and Jack London's imagination, or Vladimir Putin on the world stage today, they stand the best chance of succeeding. But on the societal level, this could not be further from the truth, because a community that is comprised of individuals who focus on their own self-interest only, they cannot stand the test of time. As the book of Exodus was coming to a close over the past couple of weeks, we read 2 weeks ago in Exodus 35, verse 5, Moses said to the whole community of Israelites, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Take from among you the gifts of the Lord, gifts to the Lord. Everyone whose heart so moves him shall bring them gifts for the Lord. Gold, silver, and copper, blue, purple, and crimson yards, fine linen, and goat's hair, tanned ram skins, dolphin skins, and acacia wood. And let all among you who are skilled come and make all that the Lord has commanded, the tabernacle, its tent, and its coverings." Now, this short set of instructions, which become elaborated upon later, this list matters because, as biblical scholar Walter Brueggemann teaches, constructing an adequate place for the holiness of God is indeed human work, fraught in generosity. Indeed, it takes skill, generosity, and sacrifice. Building the Mishkan, the holy tabernacle, to God's standards, it was hardly easy for us, but build it, we did. So successful were we that by the end of Exodus, when Moses had finished the work, the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the presence of the Lord filled the tabernacle. We had successfully convinced God to dwell amongst us. Now this Shabbat, as we enter the book of Leviticus, we take that process one step further. Because while the building may be finished, and while God may already be showing a willingness to dwell amongst us, there is at least one thing that is missing until now: an instructions and care manual. How do we go about convincing God to want to continue dwelling amongst us? And that's where the book of Leviticus comes in. It is our instructions and care manual, our guide for how to do God's work in the structure to which we already have access. At its core, Leviticus matters because it helps us join in continuing purpose with God. In Leviticus 1, it says, "Daber el b'nei Yisrael v'amarta alehem Adam ki yakriv mikem korban ladonai ki habehema min habakar o min hatzon takrivu et korbanchem." Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, "When any of you presents an animal sacrifice to the Lord, you shall choose from the herd or from the flock to be your offering." Now, for those of you who perhaps have a bit of basic Hebrew under your belts, perhaps you know the word karov, which means close. Korban, sacrifice, comes from the same root as karov, near or close. And so when we read, as I just did, the words yakriv mikem korban when any of you presents an animal sacrifice, we might read instead, when any of you brings near that which brings near. Because sacrifice really is that which brings near, brings us near to God, but also near to each other. But there is more. What you may not see unless you read the Hebrew carefully is that while the grammar begins in the singular, that is, when you, singular, present a sacrifice of cattle to the Lord, it then transitions into the plural. You, plural you, shall bring your, that is plural your, you shall bring your sacrifice from the herd or the flock. Now, Hasidic master Tzvi Elimelech of Dinov in Poland, he teaches that this signifies that while we enter into prayer as individuals, a shared sacrificial experience transforms us into a community. As we seek to entice God to dwell among us, what could be more alluring than providing the warmest, most welcoming, and most supportive community possible? Especially glaring on this Shabbat Zachor, this special Shabbat today of remembrance before Purim, especially glaring is that we Jews have had our fair share of challenge over the centuries. And to the casual Darwinist, it makes no sense that we should have survived this long. But that's only if we stick with the younger Darwin and disregard the mature Darwin. Because as the father of evolution came to understand, even while the strong survive and the weak fail, we cannot overlook the fact that altruism on its larger societal level, that is, caring for others, bringing others close to us and allowing us to be brought close to them, is of unbridled strength. Just as this is true for the Jewish community, so too is it equally true for all people everywhere. Unfortunately, for all of our human foibles, we do seem to be hardwired to come together by sacrificing for the good when it matters most. There is no reason to be grateful to Vladimir Putin. He's proven himself a murderous menace seemingly without mercy, and now that he's been confronted with unexpectedly heroic resistance, we assume he will resort to even more barbaric and indiscriminate violence. But we do have reason to hope, because we humans have shown ourselves over time to be capable of sacrifice in the face of adversity. In the face of COVID, we offered God a new path, an electronic path, to want to be with us by bringing ourselves close to one another over the internet. And now, over the past 16 days, by stepping up and digging into our own pockets to care for God's Ukrainian children in need, even the ones who descend from the Holocaust collaborators and pogrom perpetrators, we, along with others across the world, and especially in Europe, we have offered God even more incentive to want to dwell amongst us. Korban brings us close to God and God close to us. And that, I believe, is what the book of Leviticus is really all about. Some may criticize the emphasis on blood and guts and arcane law, but I think that misses the point. Sacrifice is about giving of ourselves in order to bring ourselves close to one another, and being together in common purpose, even from afar. That, I imagine, is exactly how we will manage to convince God to want to remain amongst us. It is to that end that we offer sacrifice, to attract God to choose to dwell among us. thus assuring a more sacred future for all. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will.
We turn now to page 586 in the middle for Koleinu. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, אחד. Please be seated. Think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. If you hear the name of a loved one and it is meaningful to you to rise, we invite you to do so when you hear their name. We think first of the 989,700 Americans who have succumbed to COVID, over 6,046,000 in the world. We think of those whose families are in the 7-day mourning period of Shiva, Glenn Cohen, Jerry Bursey. Those who are in the 30-day mourning period of Shloshim, the families of Betsy Millman, Sandy Lustig, Richard Kargman, Ethel Capon. We think of those whose families are marking the anniversary of one's death, their yahrzeit. Edward Adler, Hattie Altman, Annette Beiser, Rosalind Burko, Bernard Blumenthal, Ruth Bolender, Roberta Borgensen, Nathan Broder, Mac Brown, James Bursey, Julie Cohen, Francis Darish, Joseph Druckman, Gertrude Falk, Lillian Farber, Lillian Feldman, Saul Firmaglich, Dina Fried, Sarah Fried, Fred Gandelman, Michael Geliebter, John Goldfein, Marcia Greenblum, Joel Grenadier, Edna Gursky, Henry Gusau, Helena Height, Isaac Heller, Joseph Herman, Rebecca Herman, Seymour Hirsch, Herta Hertzberg, Donald Iskowitz, Lester Just, Matilda Conweiler, Marty Kay, Sheila Klein, Eli Coppell, Mark Letterman, Sylvia Levin, Esther Licht, Ann Naftali Matza, Israel Mercer, Ida Mintz, Gertrude Paul, Fanny Pollinette, Marilyn Posadowitz, Lloyd Rackmill, Jerry Radler, Scott Joseph Rafaloff, Hannah Lucas Raisin, Abraham Rice, Samuel Saborski, Ida Salos, Saul Salzhauer, Robert Scarborough, David Shine, Esther Schiffman, Evelyn Schlemm, Max Schneier, Iris Schultz, Philip Siegman, Jerry Seifer, Herman Sills, George M. Skronek, Isidore Smukler, Irene Tabachnik, Hyman Titleman, Martin Tarnoff, Rhoda Tarnoff, Linda Trott, Stan Trott, Murray Waxman, Morris Weissman, Elliot J. Wolowitz, Olga Wolt, Raphael Yonikoff, Leona Zeitlin, Sadie Hertzmark, and those deaths within the past year from Jewish Center of Northwest Jersey. Rose Margolin, Linda Ratzman, Mitzi May, Mary Bronico, Susan Waxman, Carol Rossner, Dimitri Belzer. And each week we call to mind 6 individuals who perished in the Shoah, the Holocaust, naming them individually instead of by number. Miko Tabo, Bernard Abraham, Herschel Ziegler, Josef Steinberg, Frieda Schoenberg, David Spalter. Grateful for their memories, we rise as one loving community for the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divrach Hirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chaye chon v'yomei chon Uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala b'zman kariv imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei amaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei d'Kudesha Brichu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to those who mourn and comfort to those who are bereaved, as together we say, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Please be seated. It's always nice to share good news, and I'm going to invite Michael Holzer to be the mic man, to bring around our little wireless microphone. And boy, we need some good news this week. If some mazel has occurred to you, please feel free to share, and we will share in your mazel.
First, I finally got to celebrate my birthday with my children and grandchildren. We had a lot of delays because of COVID, so that was wonderful. And secondly, I've been enjoying Friday night services streaming for 2 years. This is the first time I'm in person in 2 years, and this was a marvelous, marvelous service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else new around here?
I got to celebrate my birthday, and this is the first time I've been back for a Friday night service since COVID happened, and it changed a lot, but it's a lot better. And I really enjoyed it, my time.
And I think you might be becoming bat mitzvah tomorrow, possibly.
That's very joyous. That's a celebration.
Yeah, now I'll share my simcha that the Jewish Center of Northwest Jersey this coming Shabbat will, for the first time, be regrouping in person as a community. So excited for that.
Wonderful. Terrific. Before we conclude with a rousing version of Gesher Tzar Me'od, we take a moment to sing Motzi, to break bread together, two communities, and amongst ourselves here. Ha-motzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our prayer is joyfully said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'te'avon. Thank you to Cantor Levine. Thank you to Suzanne Moore and Sharon Aptaker, Jerry Kaplan, Bruce Cooper, Kevin Werbel, Charlie Perlman, Ellie Goldman, and Jules Levitt.
We love you guys. Really wonderful to be back with you. I chose this prayer, Kol Ha'olam Kulo, the words of Reb Nachman and Brodslav, because they seem to fit with what we're going through today. The whole entire world is like a narrow bridge, and we're walking it together, but the most important thing is not to be afraid, and we take hands, we walk, we stand, and we join, and we will get through this. So let's stand now and get close to our loved ones and join together in Kol Ha'olam Kulo. Kol Ha'olam